Hello and welcome back to Rediscovering You, episode 84. Today I have a wonderful guest with me. Her name is Elisha Meek. Elisha is a corporate professional, published author, and a coach whose mission is to help busy women break up with burnout without quitting the careers they have worked so hard to build. With over 17 years of experience in the corporate world, and a book called Meek It Happen, Alicia has created a framework that helps women reclaim their time, define what fulfillment really looks like, and start moving toward purpose on their own terms. So, Alicia, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to speak with you today.
Hey Laura, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here, super appreciative. Thank you so much. I'm excited for today.
So I am assuming you didn't wake up one day and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be a coach." Like I'm thinking there was probably like some trajectory of events that happened in your personal and professional life. Can you just share a glimpse of what your path has looked like leading you to where you are?
Yes, thank you so much. And you are absolutely correct. I never imagined being a coach. I have, as you mentioned, spent the majority of my professional career in corporate America in talent acquisition. I've been with the same organization for 17, actually, this year is my 18th year with this organization, and have been in many different roles with them, starting in telemarketing, doing sales, doing some coordinating, and now doing talent acquisition. And about 7 years ago, through about 3 years of living and working in burnout, hit a moment of non-alignment, I would say, with where I felt my identity was fully attached to my career and I needed something else. I was up for a promotion that I thought I was easily well deserved moving into this promotion. And Laura, I didn't get it. I was very, very disappointed. I didn't get the promotion. And that same day, I sparked the idea to start my own small business. So while still working my full-time job, I launched, owned, and operated a bakery, a small bakery in Las Vegas with my mom and my sister. And so just a little family, a side hustle. And it was amazing. Having something else to focus on other than my career helped me escape burnout. So not only did I now have this one thing that was mine, the small business, it also made me fall back in love with my career. So my full identity wasn't attached to my career. I now had, of course, the my full-time job, but I also had this small business. And while I was working and doing the business is when I wrote my first book. Thank you for referencing that. It's called Make It Happen. It's about achieving large life goals, as I feel I've done. And for the next 5 years, I was working, owning a business, and writing a book. Sadly, the small business came to an end when my mom passed away. Unfortunately, we were very close. We were business partners. And after she passed away, I just couldn't carry on with the business mentally, emotionally. It just didn't feel good anymore. Interesting though, Laura, the day I closed the business was the day I published my first book. So it was almost like I was closing one chapter, no pun intended, and
Mhm.
then opening the next. And a month after I published the book, I found a great coaching group that you and I both know very well. And I started down this path of coaching, and I didn't have my ideal client at first, but I knew I wanted to help people live better lives, find their purpose, live in alignment. And I eventually, after through some discovery of my own, realized the path that I lived in burnout for 3 years, the way I was able to overcome it without quitting my career was by redirecting my focus into a small business or what was my passion project. And so that brought me to where I'm coaching today. So I'm coaching women to help them break up with burnout, leave burnout behind without leaving their career by really giving them something that's all theirs, a creative outlet or a passion project or a side hustle. And I show them, frameworks, how to do it mentally, and then obviously how to do it practically and bring it into the real world amongst their busy schedules. So now I am, alongside my coaching, working on my second book titled Break Up With the Burnout. And that's where I am today.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. That is incredible. Everything that you've done, like from your corporate career to having the courage to start that small business with your mom. And I'm so sorry for your loss. That is such a devastating loss to have. And I just am holding space for you in that. But then finding inspiration to help women navigate own burnout and live in alignment with themselves. I just love how like you're continuing to evolve and reimagine and rediscover who you are. And in doing so, you're helping other people do the same. I want to focus right now on the word burnout because
Okay.
we hear it a lot. Like it's in the news,
Yeah.
like it's in like people throw it around. But when you're talking about burnout, Alicia, what do you mean?
I love this. And what's so funny, I just have to say, Laura, as I'm writing my book right now, and I'm almost on my final draft, but I make note in the book of how many times I say the word burnout. Because obviously it's in the title, and as I'm
Yeah.
talking about it and explaining it, and when I'm done, I'll have to do a word count of how many times I say the word burnout because it is so many. And what's interesting and what I have discovered as I've talked with so many different women in getting research for this book is that burnout does mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So it is interesting to ask to kind of define it. I will define what it means to me and then kind of elaborate on that. So I see burnout as a state of mind where you are completely exhausted and depleted from doing the same thing for an extended amount of time without getting the same satisfaction that you used to. Yes, burnout is almost always associated with work. We are so burned out because we work so much or are stuck in our jobs. But burnout can be, I've talked to women that are burned out of motherhood and no judgment
Mhm.
there.
Right.
And I'm sure some mothers can, I'm not a mother, but I am of dogs, but not of humans. And or you could be burnt out of school, people that continuing education, you could be burnt out in a relationship. So I think burnout is just a state of mind where you are consistently in a state of exhaustion, frustration, and need a redirection into a new purpose. And so, as mentioned, my ideal client is mostly women, corporate women that had been in their job for a very long time, just as I was, and not getting the satisfaction anymore. And from a tangible state of what burnout looks like is being it from going speaking to work and corporate is being frustrated every day, all day at work,
Mhm.
taking everything personally. So every time you get an email from someone, it feels like a personal attack on you, even though that's not usually their
Yeah.
intention, and or dreading going to work every single day and not getting joy out of what you're doing anymore, feeling that you're the one doing everything and not being recognized. So that's what burnout means to me. I will say that a lot of people I've spoken to really associate burnout with just working too much, which is part of it. It really is. Women and men, but anyone who works, 60 to 80 hours a week at the same job, yes, that is burning out. I did see a post one time where Grant Cardone mentioned that we don't burn out. He says, we're not candles, we're human beings. We don't burn out. And I do see what he means by that and what his line of thinking is. But I think it's just a term that we associate with being at the end of our rope, doing something over and over and not getting any more joy or satisfaction out of it.
I like that distinction there that you bring, that is not getting joy out of what you're doing, not getting meaning out of how you're spending the majority of your time. It's not simply the amount of time you're doing something, but it is the emotional and the psychological toll of what it
Hmm.
is, of how it is. And so I think another important point that I want to highlight here is that for a lot of, for you yourself and for the women that you're coaching, they've been doing what they've been doing for a long time. And
Yes.
when you come to think about like, okay, I'm feeling burnt out. This isn't really lighting me up anymore, but I'm this old. I can't do anything else. Like it's too late for me to start. And so they just get stuck in that cycle of feeling burnt out and unfulfilled. Can you talk about like, is that something that you encounter with the women that you help in your own personal journey? And how do you help women move past that limiting belief of like, it is too late for me, I'm too old, I can't do anything else at this point in my life?
Great point, Laura. And I think you bring up a huge issue because almost every woman I speak to, they have something that is stopping them, whether it is the biggest one, and you're absolutely right, is I'm too old. I don't have the ability or the time, so to speak, to start over something new. Some of it's I'm too young, not smart enough, or, we all have our insecurities for sure. But to that exact point that you're asking about women saying I'm too old and how do I, come to start something new is something I have done with a lot. And I can't remember the exact age, but I believe it's Vera Wang who didn't start something till she was in her 50s. And I should look it up, but there is so many different examples of individuals that started something late in life that actually became incredibly successful for it. So what I say is, as long as you're here, it's never too late. Even for someone that's 50 years old, let's say, they probably still have another 50 years of life. Humans are living a lot longer than they are. So I tell them, think of all that you've accomplished in the 50 years. You still have another 50 or however many years. It's not about where you are, it's about your mindset of how to move forward and how to make practical daily steps to overcome. And I have found, Laura, that most women that say that I'm too old, they're just afraid. It's just fear. That's not even really what they believe. It is a good way to get out of having to do something new. And they get complacent. Hey, I've been there myself, and so it's hard to start something new. So a lot of them are afraid that they'll fail, or it won't work out. But fear is not a reason to not start something. It is the reason to actually overcome something. It's
Mhm.
because you want it. If you feel that fear, it means you do want it. And it really is. And you and I were talking about this before we started recording, but it is about just taking little steps every single day. And I think a lot of women think they have to have it all figured out right now. But honestly, it only takes 10 to 15 minutes a day to get started. Your first activity, I always say, is find the activity that gives you passion. Is it photography? Is it painting? Is it volunteering? Is it scuba diving? I've heard so many different things, but what is it to you that brings your heart and soul joy? And just spend 10 minutes every day researching that and start putting into practice. And so that the tangible advice to bring into the real world is to start today and just do 10 steps a day, or I'm sorry, 10 minutes a day. And after a year, you'll be amazed at what you've accomplished.
And can we bring it back to you personally? And what did you do for 10 minutes a day and what did you accomplish?
I love this. Okay, so I will say the day that I didn't get the promotion, it was again, I'd spent 3 years in burnout. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week. I was saying yes to every single project. So that's my own fault for overcommitting. I had no boundaries, said yes to everything. I'm a people pleaser and overachiever by nature. Plus, I'm a control freak. So I have to do everything on on my own and don't know how to delegate or didn't. I've learned to overcome that. But I at the time didn't realize it was burning me out. I was just thought that was what success was. And so I was doing all that to get to the next level in my career, which was the position I applied for. So when I didn't get that position, it really took me back to reflect on where my life is going. What do I really want? And that day that I realized, hey, I text my sister. I said, let's start a small business selling desserts. I'll do the business side, you do the baking. Because me in the kitchen, we aren't friends. I'm not a cook. I did the business side. My mom and my sister did the baking. And my sister texted me back and said, yes, let's go for it. Probably thought I was just, having fun. But that day when I went home, I literally started a Google Notepad or Google Doc. And first thing typed was how to start a small business in Las Vegas. And it literally just starts with one Google search. And then you research, you find what it takes, and then you fill out this form, and then you apply for your LLC, and then you create your business name. And little by little, you just take little steps, and each step will lead you to the next one, and each step will take you to the next one. But it really just for me, it started with a Google search. Now it's probably chat
Right.
GPT. That
Whatever
wasn't
it is.
really a
Yeah.
thing back then. Yes, whatever it is. But use the tools that we have, the technology that we have to take those little steps and then start researching, start planning, and then take active and steps in the real world. And it builds really quickly. My mom would say the days are short, but the years are long.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. The
The other
days
way
are
around. I know
long,
what you
but the years are short. Yes, so
do. Yeah.
they really do.
That's like so good to hear for anybody. Like it really, like you only need 10 minutes a day and an interest and a curiosity. And you can do a lot. And I want to bring this back to the work that you do with helping women overcome their burnout, because I think a misconception is that if you're not happy in your career and you want to start something new, you've got to throw out the career and then
Hmm.
start something new, because you can't possibly do both at the same time, because that would just be crazy, right? But I think you know that the work that you do and how you help people is help guiding them with being able to not throw away the career just yet, if that's what it is, but you can start doing what you love and building a passion that you have, and it doesn't have to overcome your entire life. Can you talk a little bit about that?
This is the entire concept behind the book, Laura. So my next book. So thank you for bringing this up. And you are absolutely right. A lot, and I'm not saying that, the other advice on how to escape burnout that's out there is wrong. Everybody is different. So I do
Right.
want to say that not everything I say is going to apply to someone's situation and vice versa. But I do want to say that in these women that have built these careers, they think, to your very point, you're absolutely right, that the only way to get out of burnout is to get out of the job. And that is not true. That is, you need to get out of the feeling and the headspace that you're in,
Mhm.
not out of the job. And I always tell these women is to use your job as an angel investor into your next passion project. And some women, I will say, they are using it as an exit plan for their career. So they're wanting to set up a side hustle or a side business and start that while they're in their current career, maybe 2 to 3 years down the road. Some women feel that they want to be at their career for the next 10 to or 20 years and even retire, but they just need something on the side to take the attention and stress away. So in the book, I talk about, identity a lot, and most high achieving corporate individuals that are burnt out, it's because their entire identity is their job. So it'd be like, "Hi, I'm Elisha. I'm a recruiter." But that's not actually correct. I work as a recruiter, but I'm also an author and a coach, and I love dogs. We attach our entire identity to the career we've been building. So of course we're going to be emotional and attach all of our feelings to it. But when you have something else, and photography is one I just spoke with a woman about, so that's why it's on top of my mind. But say you're working all day, but you know that you get to after work go take photos of urban environments, or you get to do it on the weekends with your friends. And then when you get the pictures back, you can see how wonderful they turned out.
Mhm.
And it's just such a joy that you're now not so encompassed by your job. The job isn't everything to you. You have something else that's all yours. It's just such an incredible feeling. So again, I think women think that to leave the burnout feeling, they have to leave the job. They just have to leave the feeling.
Yes.
That's what it is. And that's why the book is called Break Up with Burnout, because I frame it as burnout being this toxic relationship that you're in. And, the job isn't toxic, it's the relationship you have with it. So
Mhm.
you need to pull yourself back, give yourself something that's just yours, that brings you joy. And it makes you not just love the thing you're doing, but you also fall back in love with your job as well, which is an incredible feeling.
That's beautiful. And I resonate with everything you're just saying so much. Just in my own personal journey of working in school psychology for so many years and feeling that sense of being burned out. As soon as I changed my mindset about what my job was and what it was not, and that my identity is so much more than that role, my job doesn't bother me anymore. Like, that part, it didn't bother me. I just like I changed my relationship with it, with how I looked at it. And your term of calling it your angel investor for your next step for your business, that's so
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna steal that.
Yes, please do. Please do use your paycheck as and here's the thing. I do want to point out, Laura, that I'm not telling these women to be bad at their job. I'm not telling them to not do the work appropriately. I'm not telling them to slack off. Just the opposite. They're high performing, high functioning women. They're going to
Yeah.
do great at whatever they do. I'm just saying don't attach so much emotion to it. And I love that you said as soon as you changed your mindset, I may have to quote you from my book, because that's exactly what I'm looking for, is to help these women change their mindset, which it's not easy to do. I mean, if you've done it, it's not just after one conversation. It takes weeks, sometimes months, and honestly, depending on how bad it is ingrained in you, it could take years to really own your mind. I call it controlling your own mind into being able to direct your focus and mindset where you want it to go.
Yeah, it is a skill that I think is worth anybody's taking the time to learn how to do it. It's just, it can give so much more peace and joy. And when you are on the verge of feeling overwhelmed at work or whatever it is in life, like it just gives you that perspective that, wait, this
Mhm.
is a situation that is frustrating. This is not who I am, and this doesn't reflect on me and my own path or journey. It just gives a little bit of breathing room. Yeah, mindset is huge, and it takes a bit of practice and some reminders and going back, but it is very much worth the effort to be able to do that.
I agree. I agree. In my first book, I talk about that we live our entire lives in our mind.
Mhm.
Like, yes, we are operating in the physical world. We all share this reality. But if you think about it, our entire lives are lived in our mind, our memories, our thoughts, our emotions. It's all up in the mind. And so make it a happy place in there. And most of us, and I'm going to speak from experience of many years of living on autopilot, where I truthfully was an absent-minded young Elisha, that I really didn't think about the next step. I didn't plan my life ahead. I didn't regulate my thoughts and emotions. I really didn't have control. I was very reactive, not in a negative way, but just young and impulsive. And It is such an incredible feeling now, Laura, to be incredibly self-aware, to have control over my thoughts. So, to your point, if you have something that comes in that frustrates you, an email or someone's response, I feel so grateful that I have the ability to say exactly what you just said. This is just a situation. It doesn't define who I am. I'm not going to get frustrated over this. It's just a small, minute situation. And it's just, that's what I want to teach women. So you're absolutely right. I feel like owning your own mindset and having that, intellectual and emotional maturity and intelligence is, I don't know, it's worth its weight in gold.
Percent. Yeah, because your thoughts, the thoughts that you allow into your mind, because you're right, we do spend so much of our lives in our thoughts, in our brains. So whatever it is that we spend our time thinking about, that is where our energy goes. That is what we're going to manifest around us. If we're like, my job sucks, my coworkers hate me, my boss is a jerk. Okay, that's what you're calling in. That is what is going to
Mhm.
be your reality. So yeah, like being able to have that is just such a helpful skill. And I imagine this is something that you help the women that you coach with as part of your practice. I was hoping you could also talk a bit about the framework that you use in working with your clients.
Yes, I would love to. I call it the brains, body, soul.
Okay.
It's three separate pieces that I work on. It's overall the try method, try for three steps. And it goes very deep, but I'm going to talk at it very high level because I know we don't have all the time in the world today. But it is essentially telling these women they have everything they need to make change in their life. So the first step that I work on is the brains, the mind. Exactly what you and I were just talking about is being able to control your thoughts and direct them in the way you want to go. So literally, Laura, you just said it perfectly. If you think, you hate your job, your boss sucks, your coworkers are mean to you, then yes. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And that quote has always resonated with me because it just speaks such volumes of what our brain can do. So, the first step in the brains, body, soul framework is to focus on your brain. So, when you're making a change in your life, focusing on a new passion project, it starts in your mind. What are you going to focus on? How are you going to research it? When are you going to plan it? Setting up effective boundaries for yourself, being able to overcome the people pleasing, the overcommitting, the controlling, just anything that, each individual struggles with, being able to recognize those things in their mind and having the ability to put forth the effort in their mind first. Everything that happens in the world, of course, happens in our brain first. So we want to work on our brain. And then the second piece is the body. And that's where putting action in the real world. So you could do all the research in the world on your side project and research it and plan it and formulate it and build it online. But if you don't do anything in the real world, it goes nowhere. So you need your body, you need to focus on your body and take what you've put in your brain and actualize it in the real world. The second piece of the body is taking care of your body. So when you're having a frustrating moment, stand up, do a stretch, meditate, do some squats or whatever it is that gets your body moving. So not just as important as taking care of the mind, you want to take care of your body. Make sure you're drinking lots of water throughout the day, getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep. So, taking care of your brain, taking care of your body. And then the most important is taking care of your soul. So making sure everything you do is doing it the right way, the ethical way, the moral way that aligns with your soul and your purpose. Earlier, I talked about just because you're starting a passion project doesn't mean you're going to give your job any less of you
Mm-hmm.
because that's not right. If they're paying you for 40 hours a week, you work the 40 hours a week and you do it at your best ability and making sure that all the decisions you're making in this new change that they feel good, that their soul all align and you do them with integrity. So you use your brains first, your body second, and then your soul overall.
I love that concept. I love everything. And it makes so much sense how everything is interplayed. And then with the soul aspect coming in about like you still need to live in alignment with what you know to be right and good. Um, and
Hmm.
not shortchange different parts of your life because, yeah, if you show up inauthentically in other areas, it's gonna affect what you're trying to put out with whatever your endeavor is. And I wanted to bring something up as you were talking about like the mind and then the body. A lot of people do a lot of research about like when they have
Hmm.
an idea for a passion project or a side hustle, whatever it is. And so they spend a ton of time researching, finding other examples of what to do. Like they have so much knowledge that is building up, but they hold back on the body stuff, the action stuff, because they're like, I'm not ready. I don't have everything figured out. It's not perfect yet. I know I come up against this a lot with people I work with. I'm wondering if you do, and if and when you do, what guidance do you give to them about like, well, it's not perfect. I'm not ready. I can't do anything because it's not crystallized yet.
Yeah, great question. And Laura, that is me, or was me. I will tell you, I have, and I heard this term recently that I'd love to use, and it's called analysis paralysis, where you just
Mm.
do so much research that you don't put it into the real world. And at one time, that was absolutely me. And I felt good that I was doing all the right things and I'm making progress, which I was, but I didn't take it the next step, which is what makes it actualize into our 3D reality. And so, my guidance and into your question, yes, I do work with women that I can relate to because, again, I've been in
Mhm.
that situation. And so, the biggest advice that I give to them is to find an accountability partner. Breakthroughs rarely happen alone. You need someone to keep you accountable for making that next step. And usually I suggest to have it be someone in a professional setting, whether it be a counselor or a mentor or a manager or finding a coach, because it if you ask your best friend or your sister or your mom, although they will love you and support you, a lot of times they won't keep you as accountable as they should. So I'll give you an example. What I tell my clients is, when you find an accountability partner, give them a task that you want to accomplish in 7 days. So in 7 days, I want to have my website completed, the copy on my website completed within 7 days. So in 7 days, at the end of 7 days, if you told your friend, your best friend or your mom, and you said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, work got so busy, I didn't get a chance to get it completed," they'd be like, "That's okay. You're still
Mm.
doing great," because they love you. They're going to tell you that.
Mhm.
But when it's a mentor or a coach or someone that, even if you're not paying them, they're just a mentor, you feel more accountable to get it done. You're like, I don't want to disappoint this person. I'm going to make sure that I get it done. Have the website
Yeah.
copy completed or whatever the example is by the 7 days. So it does help a lot when you're paying someone like a coach or a therapist because you have money invested, so
Right.
you're even more to it. But if we don't have the money, of course, there's free counselors, there's mentors, there's tons of people that work with you. But that's my guidance, Laura, is to find someone to help you be accountable.
Mhm.
It's hard to keep yourself accountable unless you have the most incredible mindset and willpower to make it through. But I wouldn't be where I am without many different people in professional settings and coaches and therapists and mentors and counselors and also friends and family. Though they are important, don't get me wrong. You want cheerleaders on the
Yeah.
side. As I say, they are your cheerleaders, but then you do want someone dedicated to hold you accountable.
That is incredibly important. And yeah, that makes so much sense, both for me personally and the women that I help along the ways too. Like, if I absolutely wouldn't have accomplished what I have now in my business and without accountability partners, they are So valuable and so important. And like another point I wanted to bring up that you mentioned about families, like, yes, they're very kind and forgiving with like, oh, don't worry if you didn't do that. But there's another piece of just relying on friends and family that I have found personally is not helpful always, is that they love you so much that they want to protect you so that they might say like, oh, I don't know that it's quite perfect yet, so I wouldn't put it out there. What if you're going to embarrass yourself if it flops, or, like what if people criticize you? So yeah, I would hold back because I don't think it's polished enough. I've run into that personally and I've seen it in others too. And I think like that is another stumbling block when we rely solely on our personal friends and family.
Laura, I couldn't have said it better myself. You are 100% accurate, and you're right. It comes from a place of love. They are absolutely protecting you. But I received a quote from one of the coaches I work with, and this I will tell you, I'm an absolute 100% perfectionist. It's just how my brain operates. It has to be perfect before I put it out in the world. And the quote says, perfectionism is just procrastination. Shoot, I can't remember, but the scope of it is it's never going to be perfect. When you're trying to make it perfect, you're just procrastinating, and progress beats perfectionism every time.
Every
So
time.
put it out in the world. Exactly. Put it out in the world. You make that first post on social media. It's not going to be pretty. Your first website that you put up, the first webinar that you do, the first painting, if you're an artist, the first painting, or you're a singer, the first song, it's not going to be perfect, but progress is more important. So you're absolutely right. So I agree that family, they're great cheerleaders, but they also, you're so right, they want to protect you.
Yeah, they do. And it's all from love. And I love for my family
Yep.
listening, love you. But I also need my accountability partners in other realms so that I can get over my insecurities and put myself out there. And anybody listening, also have yourself an accountability partner so that you can overcome those hurdles and just put your voice and put your work out into the world. It is everything. Alicia, if people are listening to you talk and wanting to work with you or learn more about what you do, or get your books that are coming out, how can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yes, thank you so much, Laura. So, always a good place to reach out is on my website. I have a link on there where you can set time to speak with me directly at no charge, and it's mainly about coaching. But even if you just want to learn more about my book or my experience, and it's just my name, it's elishameek.com, and anyone listening, it's ELISHAMEEK.com. Instagram, same, Elisha.meek, or LinkedIn, same. Pretty unique name, so there's not a lot of people out there, at least for the spelling of Elisha. I'm really heavy on LinkedIn and Instagram. Or even email me, meek at elishameek.com. I do have a launch team that I'm building for my second book, where if you want to join the launch team, you can email me and I'll send you weekly emails on sneak peeks on the book and webinar podcast updates and giveaways and things of that nature as well.
Thank you so much for all of that. I will absolutely be sure to include all of those links in the show notes as well for people that they could just easily click on and find you as well. As we close out, I just want to leave you with a final question. With the name of this
Okay.
podcast being Rediscovering You, when you think about that
Mhm.
phrase, rediscovering you in the context of how you work with people and the people that you help in this world, what does that mean to you?
This is such a great question, and I thought that you may have a question like this, and I probably should have been more prepared
I like that you're
and
not
thought,
prepared because that means it's going to be more
yeah,
authentic.
very true, very true. Okay, so what does that mean to me in rediscovering you? So I will say, Laura, the one thing that I've learned is as much as you can plan your path, it's never going to be linear. So again, and I'm only going to speak from my experience, and I'm sure some of the listeners can resonate with this, is when I started my career, I had this ideal path of what position I was going to go into and move up the ladder, and I had it all worked out, but it didn't work out that way. I didn't get the positions I want. Then I did get some positions that I didn't even know I wanted that took me in a new direction. I never thought of being a small business owner, especially starting a bakery. As I mentioned, I don't cook. My husband is the cook, and we've lived in our home for 12 years. I've never used the oven once, if that says something. And when I told people I was opening a bakery, they're like, people that knew me, friends and family, they're like, "You're opening a bakery?" And I'm like, I'm doing the business side. I promise I'm not doing the baking. Mom and sister are doing the baking. And so that was something I never thought about. And then I always had writing as a passion. So I will say that has been a true just goal that I've had since I could hold a pen, is being a published author, but now working on my second book and moving into coaching. So I think rediscovering you is that I think I'm always rediscovering who I am. So I have this plan, or had, and probably still had this plan of who I was going to be. And it actually turned out better than I ever could have thought. So I would just say, be open to opportunities that you never imagined before. And when an opportunity doesn't work out your way, that probably means something better is coming. I know it's hard to see that in the moment, but that's what it means to me.
I love that. I love that. Something better is coming. Elisha Meek, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was such a fun time talking to you, such an inspiration learning about your work. I really appreciate your time today.
Same, Laura. Thank you. Well done. Great questions. Flawless execution on your part. I had so much fun today. Thank you so much, Laura.